We know it across this House, we hear it from heads, we hear it from teachers, we hear it from parents alike. The message, just like the message many of us have heard about the climate crisis this week, could not be clearer. As some honourable members have said already, the special educational needs of pupils are increasingly challenging. Heads have told me directly they don't know how their secondaries will cope when the numbers of younger children who are now being diagnosed start to come through. I've heard estimates that genuinely shock me. As many as a third of pupils in some local nurseries are now thought to have some level of support.
I'm grateful. Would you agree that worse than perhaps the headline figures, talking in millions and billions of pounds, it's a commonplace discussion with every single head teacher when we go into schools every week, how they're making fundamental cuts to their staffing, special needs and other budgets? And isn't that something the Minister should do?
I absolutely agree. As many as a third of pupils in some local nursery classes are now thought to need some level of support. That's massive. In Newham, the challenge for schools is only likely to get bigger because we know that hundreds of local children who need an educational health and care plan or a statement don't yet have one. Official statistics show that EHC plan and statement rates for Newham are currently 5 times lower than for other inner London boroughs. And I know that the council are working really hard to try and turn this around, but these current low rates mean that the challenge for local schools is just beginning and they are struggling to keep up. The funding for specialist trained support large numbers of children now need simply isn't there. The average funding available for each child with an EHC plan has fallen by a fifth over the last 5 years. I want to ask just one example. I would have done many more if we'd have had longer time. Adam is 9. He has complex behavioural and emotional challenges. He has an EHC plan and is supposed to receive speech and language therapy and psychological help. He simply doesn't get it. The support services have been cut far too much. Most of the speech and language staff are now temporary or agency workers, and there's no consistency, and there are long gaps in Adam's access to services. Cuts to the psychological service means that Adams hasn't had any of the support he needs for his emotional and behavioural challenges. His ability to learn and grow as a healthy member of his community will obviously be hugely affected. Adam's school in Newham has now got to the point where they simply can't meet his needs. Between 2015 and 2018, that primary school lost more than £100,000 from their budget every single year, more than £400 for every single pupil. How foolish are Adam's generation going to think we are because we didn't invest in them, didn't invest in him, left their potential unfulfilled. Like climate change, this is an issue where we are letting our children down. What kind of country are we living in? The achievements of Newham's young people are extraordinary, given the circumstances. Our teachers are simply amazing. I see it on so many school visits. But the achievements of our children are against the odds, despite the barriers, and no thanks to this government, who will have cut Newham schools by £37.5 million since 2015, a cut of £445 for each and every pupil. I think the government needs to wake up to the long-term damage that, frankly, they are doing. They need to give Newham schools and other schools the funding they need to keep up with rising pupil numbers and inflation, to reduce the impact of poverty and inequalities their policies are increasing, and to pay for proper support so pupils with increasing needs can fulfil their potential as well.
Redwood. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.